Doing well with money has little to do with how smart you are and a lot to do with how you behave. A janitor and a Harvard-educated investment banker, one died with $8 million. The other went bankrupt. And here's what's wild when you understand why. You'll realize that most people who go broke aren't dumb, and most people who get rich aren't geniuses. Because Warren Buffett made $156 billion of his wealth after age 65, and it had nothing to do with picking stocks. The difference comes down to psychological traps that are silently working against you right now without you even realizing it. And once you see them, you'll never look at money the same way again. Your brain was never built for money. Let's start with something nobody in finance school ever teaches you. Your brain is approximately 200,000 years old. It was built for one thing: survival on the African savanna. Avoid predators. Find food. Stay in the tribe. That's it. Money as a concept is maybe 5,000 years old. The stock market is around 400 years old. Retirement accounts? A few decades. So when you sit down to make a financial decision, your ancient survival-wired brain is trying to navigate a system it was never designed for. And the result is a set of deeply buried psychological patterns that feel completely rational in the moment, but are quietly sabotaging your wealth every single day. This is the core argument of Morgan Housel's book, The Psychology of Money. And he opens it with two people who prove it better than any theory ever could. Ronald Read, a janitor, minimum wage his entire life, wore old flannel shirts held together with safety pins, drove a second-hand car. Nobody looked at this man and thought that guy has it figured out. Richard Foscone, Harvard MBA, investment banker. Mansion with 2 swimming pools and a 7-car garage. Ronald Read died with $8 million, quietly, patiently. He had been buying shares in solid companies for decades and telling absolutely nobody. Richard Foscone, bankruptcy, foreclosure, everything gone during the 2008 crisis. Same world. Completely opposite outcomes. And the difference wasn't intelligence, it wasn't income, it was psychology. Specifically, it was behavior. And behavior is the one variable that separates people who build wealth from people who destroy it, regardless of how smart they are. Now, let's look at exactly which psychological traps were at play, because most of them are probably running inside your head right now. The first trap you think your experience is the whole truth. Here's a fascinating psychological phenomenon called personal experience bias. Your brain builds its entire model of reality from what you have personally lived through, not what you've read, not what you've studied. What you have felt emotionally, physically in your own life. And when it comes to money, that means two people can look at the exact same investment, read the exact same data, and make completely opposite decisions, and both feel 100% rational. Someone who graduated in 2008 and watched their parents lose their home is going to treat the stock market like a minefield. Their nervous system literally learned markets are dangerous. Get out fast. Someone who bought crypto in 2017 and tripled their money in 3 months learned a completely different lesson. Volatility is exciting. Risk is rewarded. Get in early. Same world. Completely different psychological programming. Morgan Housel puts it this way: nobody is crazy with money. Everyone is just making decisions based on the specific narrow slice of the world they've personally experienced. And the trap is that your slice feels like the whole picture. It doesn't feel like a bias. It feels like wisdom. This is why your financial advice from your parents might feel completely wrong to you. They're not wrong. They're operating from a different psychological data set, a different lived reality. The fix isn't to ignore your experience. It's to recognize that your experience is one data point, not the entire map. When you make a big financial decision, ask yourself honestly, am I making this choice based on evidence or based on what I've personally felt? That one question can save you from some of the most expensive mistakes of your life. The second trap: you underestimate luck and overestimate control. Now here's the one that makes most successful people deeply uncomfortable. Psychologists call it the self-attribution bias, our tendency to take personal credit for good outcomes and blame external factors for bad ones. It's a universal human pattern, and it absolutely destroys financial decision-making. Here's why. In the early 1970s, Bill Gates happened to attend one of the only high schools in America with a computer. That single stroke of luck gave him years of practice before almost anyone else on the planet had even touched a keyboard. He was brilliant, driven, relentless. All of that is true. But the luck came first. His equally brilliant friend, Kent Evans, same passion, same intelligence, same potential to be a Microsoft co-founder, died in a mountaineering accident before finishing high school. Two people, identical potential. 1 in a million luck on both sides, completely opposite outcomes. Neither was fully in their control. And yet when successful people tell their stories, they focus on the hard work, the late nights, the smart decisions, the hustle. The luck gets a footnote, if it gets mentioned at all. This matters for your finances because self-attribution bias makes you overconfident after wins and overly self-critical after losses. When your investment goes up, you think, I'm good at this. When it goes down, you think I made a mistake. But often, both outcomes had far more to do with timing and circumstance than with your decision-making. The practical consequence? People take on way too much risk after a winning streak because they think they've figured it out. And they abandon perfectly good strategies after a losing streak because they blame themselves instead of recognizing normal market cycles. Humility isn't just a virtue here. It's a wealth protection strategy. Build a financial plan that survives bad luck, because bad luck is coming, and it doesn't care how good your spreadsheet looks. The third trap: your brain is wired to want more. Forever. This is where pure psychology gets really dark. There's a well-documented psychological phenomenon called the hedonic treadmill. Here's how it works. You want something badly, you get it. You feel great for about 2 weeks. Then that thing becomes your new normal, and your brain starts scanning for the next thing. The raise you fought for, the car you saved up for, the apartment you were so excited to move into. Within weeks, they all become background noise. Your happiness resets to baseline, and the goalpost moves. This is not a character flaw. This is your brain functioning exactly as it was designed. In evolutionary terms, contentment was dangerous. Always wanting more kept your ancestors alive, always looking for more food, more shelter, more safety. But in financial terms, it's catastrophic. Look at Sam Bankman-Fried. At 29 years old, $20 billion. The second largest crypto exchange in the world. Media called him the next Warren Buffett. Politicians praised him. Celebrities endorsed him. And it wasn't enough. He secretly gambled customer funds not to survive, not to feed his family, but to chase more status, more control, more admiration. Empire collapsed overnight. Billions lost. Investors betrayed. Sam arrested and disgraced. Or take Rajat Gupta, rose from poverty in India to become CEO of McKinsey. Net worth over $100 million. Sat on Goldman Sachs's board, surrounded by billionaires every day. And that was the problem. The hedonic treadmill kicked in at the highest possible level. $100 million. Started to feel small, so he committed insider trading, risking everything for $17 million, more on top of his $100 million. Lost everything. Reputation, freedom, legacy, all gone. The philosopher Bertrand Russell understood this trap centuries before psychology had a name for it. He wrote, "It is impossible to escape envy through success." Napoleon envied Caesar. Caesar envied Alexander. Alexander envied Hercules, who wasn't even real. The treadmill doesn't stop on its own. You have to decide to step off it. And that means doing something psychologically very difficult, defining what enough looks like for you. Not what Instagram says, not what your colleagues earn, your number. Your line. And once you reach it, protecting it with everything you have. Because the most dangerous financial trap isn't poverty. It's winning and not knowing it. The fourth trap. You mistake looking rich for being rich. Here's a psychological illusion that is absolutely everywhere. And once you see it, you'll spot it within 5 minutes of opening any social media app. It's called social signaling, and it's one of the oldest human behaviors in existence. We communicate status through visible symbols, clothes, cars, houses, watches. This was useful when we lived in tribes of 150 people and status determined survival. Today, it just makes you broke. Morgan Housel describes what he calls the man in the car paradox. You see a Ferrari at a red light. Your brain doesn't think, wow, impressive person. Your brain thinks, I want that. Imagine how I'd feel. Imagine how people would look at me. The driver is completely invisible. Everyone else is using the car as a mirror for their own desires. And this is the trap. We spend money on visible status symbols because we believe they'll earn us the admiration and respect we deeply want. But the people we're trying to impress are doing exactly the same thing, too busy imagining themselves in that car to actually admire us for being in it. Here's the financial reality that goes with this. Nearly 70% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, including many earning well over 6 figures. Why? Because income went up and lifestyle inflated to match it instantly. The psychological term for this is lifestyle creep, and it's almost impossible to feel happening in real time because each individual upgrade feels completely justified. The slightly nicer apartment, the newer car, the better restaurant, each one feels reasonable. Together, they silently consume every raise you've ever gotten. Real wealth looks nothing like what social media shows you. Real wealth is quiet, it's boring. It's the investment account nobody knows about. It's the car you didn't upgrade. It's the vacation you skipped to build a buffer. Real wealth looks nothing like what social media shows you. Real wealth is quiet. It's boring. It's the investment account nobody knows about. It's the car you didn't upgrade. It's the vacation you skipped to build a buffer. Morgan Housel says it best. Wealth is what you don't see. It's the cars not purchased, the clothes not bought, the restaurants not visited, the upgrades declined. The moment you convert money into visible stuff, it stops being wealth. It becomes a receipt. The fifth trap. Your brain cannot feel compound interest. This is perhaps the most expensive psychological limitation humans have when it comes to money. Our brains are wired for linear thinking. If you walk 2 miles a day, after 10 days, you've walked 20 miles. Simple, predictable, linear. Compound interest doesn't work that way. It's exponential. And our brains are genuinely neurologically bad at feeling exponential growth intuitively, which is why this stat always stops people cold. Warren Buffett is worth approximately $160 billion. More than $156 billion of that, virtually all of it, came after his 65th birthday. He started investing at age 10. He didn't get dramatically smarter at 65. He didn't discover a revolutionary strategy. He simply started early, never stopped, never blew up, and let time do what time does when you don't interrupt it. Here's the math your brain struggles to feel. $10,000 invested at a 10% annual return. After 10 years, $26,000. Decent. Your brain goes, okay, not bad. After 20 years, $67,000. Your brain goes, that's nice, I guess. After 40 years, $453,000 from a single $10,000 investment. Your brain goes, wait, what? The growth isn't in the early years, it's in the final years. The compounding accelerates exactly when most people have already given up because the early returns felt too slow, and the stock market data reinforces this completely. Historically, the market delivers positive returns 68% of the time over any one-year period, 88% over 10 years. And 100% of the time without a single exception in recorded history over 20 years. The only way to lose that bet is to quit before the 20 years are up. And most people do, because their linear thinking brains cannot feel the exponential curve that's coming. The sixth trap, you treat volatility as a punishment. Now here's the psychological trap that makes people quit right before the finish line. The market drops 30%. Your portfolio turns red. Every financial news headline screams disaster. And your brain, remember, that 200,000-year-old survival machine interprets this as a threat. Danger. Get out now. Psychologists call this loss aversion. Research consistently shows that the pain of losing $100 feels approximately twice as powerful as the pleasure of gaining $100. We are hardwired to feel losses more intensely than gains, and this hardwiring causes people to make one of the most expensive financial mistakes possible, selling during downturns and locking in losses, then buying back in once prices have recovered and they feel safe again, selling low, buying high. The exact opposite of how wealth is built. Here's the reframe that changes everything. Market volatility is not a punishment. It is the admission fee. Netflix returned over 35% between 2002 and 2018. One of the greatest investment returns in modern stock market history, but it spent 94% of that time below its previous all-time high. 94% of the time, if you held Netflix stock. You were looking at a number lower than it once was. To earn that 35%, you had to feel loss aversion firing constantly for years and do absolutely nothing about it. That discomfort was the price. The investors who collected the reward weren't smarter. They just understood that the feeling of losing is not the same thing as actually losing. And they stayed in their seat while everyone else ran for the exit. What money is actually for and why most people get this wrong. Here's the final psychological truth. And it's the one that ties everything together. Ask most people what they want money for, and they'll describe things. A bigger house, a nicer car, a luxury vacation, an early retirement. But there's a deeper psychological need underneath all of those things, one that social scientist Angus Campbell identified in a landmark 1981 study on happiness in America. His conclusion: a strong sense of controlling one's own life is a more dependable predictor of happiness than any objective condition, income, health, status, relationships. Any of it. Control over your time. That's what the brain actually wants. Not the stuff money buys, the freedom that money can create. And this reframes everything. Every dollar you save isn't a dollar you're depriving yourself of today. It's a small purchase of future freedom. A slightly larger buffer between you and being forced to do things you don't want to do. A 3-month emergency fund means a bad boss doesn't own you. A 6-month fund means a layoff doesn't break you. A decade of consistent investing means one morning you wake up and realize, I could stop if I wanted to. I don't have to be here. That feeling, that specific psychological shift from scarcity to agency is the highest return money ever pays. Not the Ferrari, not the watch. Not the Instagram vacation. As Morgan Housel puts it, the ability to do what you want, when you want, with who you want, for as long as you want, that is the highest dividend money pays. And the beautiful, counterintuitive truth is that kind of wealth is built quietly, through behavior, not brilliance. The ability to wake up on a Monday morning and decide, yourself what the day looks like. Morgan Housel puts it perfectly. The highest form of wealth is the ability to wake up every morning and say, I can do whatever I want, with whoever I want, for as long as I want. And the beautiful, counterintuitive truth is that kind of wealth is built quietly, through behavior, not brilliance, through consistency, not cleverness, through understanding your own psychology well enough to stop letting it work against you. Ronald Read understood this without ever reading a finance book. He just lived below his means, invested quietly, and let time do the rest. If this video made you think differently about money, hit the like button. It takes 1 second and it tells me to make more content like this. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one. The janitor beat the Harvard banker not because he was smarter, because he was psychologically free from the traps that destroyed the banker, and now so are you.